God bless you, friends and family. I have another message I'm going to release tonight called The Antichrist Supports the False Religious System. The Bible says in Revelation 17:1 then one of the seven angels who had the seven bowls came and talked with me, saying to me, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters." The seven angels showed John the bowl of judgments. Now this angel tells John about the destruction of the false religious system. Now only God knows exactly how this will happen. The final judgment on Babylon ends with a great earthquake, and that brings down every mountain, and every island disappears, and with 100-pound hailstones crushing everything that they hit. And great Babylon has remembered before God to give her the cup of the vine of the fierceness of his wrath. Revelation 16, verse 17 through 21. And then Revelation 17 through chapter 18 are a description of the false religious systems and the corrupt commercial, financial, and economic systems that will exist during the tribulation and their destruction. So the city of Babylon was built on the banks of the Euphrates River, and it had many canals that ran through it. More on the many waters. We'll speak more on that later. So with whom the king of the earth committed fornication, this is Revelation 17 verse 2, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, and those who dwell on the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication. This worldwide false religion is closely allied with the kings, presidents, emperors, dictators, prime ministers, and whatever else they are called during the tribulation. The English word for pornographic comes from the Greek word porneo. That's translated into the English word fornication. So in this verse, it's used for the people who commit spiritual adultery with what? With false gods, idol worship. So the nations of this world will never come together on a political or even an economic basis. But someday they will come together into a one world religious system. You know, we're seeing that, the beginnings of that coming about. Satan is the instigator of all false religion. He used Nimrod at Babel, and he will use the false prophet and the Antichrist to set up this worldwide false religion. The term, those who dwell on the earth, quote, is used several times in Revelation and always refers to unbelievers. And then John said in Revelation 17:3 says, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which was full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns." So the woman is the worldwide false religion that is supported by the Antichrist. But the Antichrist will destroy this worldwide false religion and demand to be worshipped. He shall exalt and he shall magnify himself above every god. He shall speak blasphemies against the God, capital G, of gods, the one and only God. See Daniel 11:36. He says, "And I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. The dragon gave him his power, his throne and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world marveled and followed the beast, and they worshipped the beast. Revelation 13, 1 through 4. So the Antichrist will use the worldwide religion to bring the world under the control, and then he will destroy it. Revelation 17, verse 16 through 17. So the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. Revelation 17, verse 4. Religious organizations are some of the wealthiest organizations in the world. Do you know that, folks? This false and idolatrous religious system will be worth billions, if not trillions, of dollars, and the false prophet and the Antichrist will have the best of everything this world has to offer. The golden cup of the harlot looks inviting to worldly-minded religious people, but the harlot's cup is filled with wickedness. It's filled with abominations and immoralities that have a mind-altering effect on people who are enticed into committing idol worship with her. Speaking of Babylon, Jeremiah wrote this. He said, "The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are deranged." Jeremiah 51:7. There are hundreds of religions in the world that worship earthly idols. John says, "Do not love the things of this world." And James says, people who are friends with this world are enemies of God. You know, when you became a Christian, most of your friends changed, and you began to have friends that were more on the same page that you were. Because friends of the world are enemies of God. Therefore, you would never be able to get along with them. You would never have anything in common with them. The woman here was arrayed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup of all the abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. Revelation 17, verse 4 and 5. So this worldwide false religion is very seductive, and it promises great things to her followers. But the end is spiritual death. So this false religious system will be extremely wealthy with the royalty and power that is given to her by the Antichrist, who is controlled by Satan. The leaders of this false religious system and Antichrist are living the life of luxury while bringing the world under the control of Satan. This religious system is totally aligned with all the rulers of the world, and most of the people of the world will be under its power. Worldly thinking people will willingly drink the cup of abominations and filthiness of this false religion. I believe we can already see this now. It's just not hidden anymore. So much has been hidden in the past, but so much is brought to the forefront now. I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I marveled with great amazement. Revelation 17, verse 6. The killing of unbelievers in the true and living God by unbelieving idol worshippers began when Cain killed Abel. Satan has used false religious leaders and idol worshiping people to persecute and kill anyone who is a true believer in God. Haman, the Agagite, did everything within his power to destroy the Jewish people. Read the book of Esther. And the persecution and the killing of the early Christians was a common occurrence by the Roman government until what? Until the Roman emperors Constantine and Licinius legalized Christianity in 313 AD. Millions of Christians have been killed by false religions throughout church history. But the slaughter of followers of Christ during the time of the tribulation will be the worst in the history of the world. In closing, let me say believers in Jesus Christ will become the victims of the satanic one-world religious, commercial, and financial systems because they refuse to take the mark of the beast. Revelation 13, verses 15 through 17. So you know what? The Bible lets us know what we're going through, approximately where we're at in history, and not only that, what we will face when we refuse to do what this one world government, what Satan is going to want us to do, and that is take the mark of the beast. When we refuse it, God will be with us. There does not have to be any fear. The Lord will be there to protect us through it all. And in saying that, I'm going to close. And always we're praying for our friends and our family, our podcast people who come to the podcast, people who come to our YouTube channel, and praying for protection, praying for boldness, courage, and all that we need to stand strong in these last days. And saying that, I'm going to close here. And thank you for joining me in this study. I appreciate you, each and every one.